Yes, we all want to see more convictions for rape and murder. Those things are very hard to prove. Whereas communication, we all communicate. 90% of it now is online.
But why should the police be policing speech that doesn't actually incite specific violence?
It was only 1967 in this country it stopped being illegal to be gay. The law has had a real hand in causing stigma and discrimination against gay people. So it's right that the law steps in and says, you know what, we've had a hand in this. We're going to step in and protect you.
These people wonder why they get so much pushback against their minority groups, because you're calling for people to get censored because they say meanie words about you.
The bigger issue, it seems to me, here with the UK is that the Times newspaper recently revealed that police officers are making 12,000 arrests a year under Section 127 of the Communications Act and Section 1 of the Malicious Communications Act. In other words, similar instances to this. That's 30 arrests a day over offensive posts on social media and other platforms. Thousands of people being detained and questioned for sending messages that, quote, cause annoyance, inconvenience, or anxiety to others via the internet, telephone, or mail. There's been a 58% increase in these arrests since before the pandemic. This seems completely nuts to me. Joe Rogan said they've already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts. We got a clip of him talking about this.
They've already arrested 12,000 people for social media posts.
That's insane.
Above and beyond every other country, way above Russia. Russia was like 400 last year. The UK is 12,000. Any criticism of immigration, any criticism of grooming gangs and people being, any talk about how horrible this is, they come visit you. It's like someone's trying to destroy England.
Now, I would say, Brendan, that's probably a mischaracterization. If you actually went over the 12,000 cases, you could probably see a lot of very offensive things in there. I don't know, but I'm surmising it's not just criticizing an immigration policy that's causing the arrest. But in a country...
They literally arrest people for praying silently outside of an abortion clinic. You guys have seen that clip of that chick in England, and the cops come up to her and they're like, "What are you doing out here?" And she was like, nothing. I'm just standing out here and I'm silently protesting this abortion clinic. And they were like, "Well, what were you like praying?" And she was like, "Yeah, I was like praying inside of my head." And they said, "Oh, you're going to have to come with us." Literally grooming gangs running around, knife crime epidemic. The police in London can't even have a gun on them. And this is what they're focused on, is Facebook posts. Yeah, Rogan's right. They're trying to destroy that place. Trying to totally and utterly destroy that place.
They're supposed to be one of the leaders of free speech historically in the world. This is pretty terrifying, isn't it? It's just Kafka stuff.
It's awful. It's like the Stasi. You know, older listeners and viewers will remember the German Democratic Republic, and they had the Stasi that would literally listen in on private conversations, that would literally rent out the apartment above the apartment of some dodgy person and listen through the floor to make sure they weren't saying problematic things. We now have a similar system in the UK. People are being arrested and in some cases punished for things they say. And, you know, it's now December, so any minute now, we are going to see the annual controversy about the Pogues' great song, Fairy Tale of New York, which has the famous lyric, "You scumbag, you maggot, you cheap, lousy, beep." You know, we're not to say it, apparently, but that is a great song. That word is often bleeped out. And this is another issue about these insulting words. I actually think what's most insulting to gay people, ethnic minority people, all sorts of minority groups, what's most insulting is actually censorship, because censorship infantilizes them. Censorship says to them, you are such a weak part of society that we need to institute these laws and these rules to protect you from offensive words. It's actually a reversal of the great gains of the civil rights era, when we have these kinds of rules that say we must protect these poor little dears from ever hearing an offensive term. So I think these words are actually, the power of these words is less worrying to me than the power of censorship to infantilize minority groups and punish people who want to express themselves.
All right, Lewis, as a poor little dear, would you like to respond?
Well, yeah, I want to start with the numbers that you just talked about, because I think there is a point where we have to look at the reality of the modern world in which we live. Yes, we all want to see more convictions for and murder. Those things are very hard to prove, whereas communication, we all communicate. 90% of it now is online.
But why should the police be policing speech that doesn't actually incite specific violence, which is to me always the line.
So our law
you cannot cross, right? If I say to people that you live at a certain address, go around there and attack him, right? That's a clear incitement to violence against a specific individual. That's a criminal offence, and I should be arrested for that, and there should be no issue of that being a free speech issue. But if I just hate you or want to say derogatory things about you, or you do to me, that shouldn't be something that precipitates 11 police turning up at the door.
Well, two things. We have protected characteristics, right? We understand that in UK law, it was only 1967 in this country it stopped being illegal to be gay. It was only in 2003 that we got rid of things like Section 28. The law has had a real hand in causing stigma and discrimination against gay people that did not disappear in 20-something years. So it's right that the law steps in and says, you know what, we've had a hand in this. We're going to step in and protect you because it takes a preventative measure.
These people wonder why they get so much pushback against their minority groups, against their LGBTQ groups. It's because you're calling for people to get censored because they say meanie words about you. You're calling for people to get arrested because they say meanie words about you. Because we've been so oppressed, and now we run around doing our pride festivals with our frickin' sacks hanging out. And these people are saying meanie words about us. Oh, not even to you. Just to the fellas in our WhatsApp groups. You want us to get arrested for it. You wonder why people just reject your whole entire worldview.
Like the NHS, where it says, you know what, rather than treat you when you're sick, let's just prevent people from getting sick where we can. And it's the same thing here. Yes, the line is calling for violence, but if you can stop people hating on people for their individual identity, you can say you're stupid, you're an idiot, you've done this wrong, whatever. But if it's targeted, if it's hate on you because of your race,
is it okay
because of your sexuality, because of your religion.
Why does nobody...
So then everybody who says negative things about white people, that white people are oppressors and that white people are bad and evil and the white people are the reason why other people and minorities can't have a house. Every time somebody points out any issue with white people, into the slammer.
You get arrested for calling Donald Trump a Nazi.
Well, no, but you know what? The Nazi thing is interesting because I do think...
It's not just interesting, it's probably the most egregious thing you could possibly call somebody, is comparing him directly to Adolf Hitler, who murdered 12 million people, who gassed 6 million Jews in concentration camps, right? The idea that
the Americans should bring in some speech.
But the idea that is not an arrestable offence by comparison to using the F word against a gay person seems to me to be completely disproportionate.
Well, you're absolutely right. But here's my thing. I think that the Nazi thing is an interesting thing because actually this proves that it's not a left or a right-wing issue. Because actually, since the assassination of Charlie Kirk and those two attempts on Donald Trump's life, the right has been saying, watch your rhetoric. And they understand that whilst people aren't calling for violence against them, speaking about them as Nazis is increasing the likeliness of someone thinking, oh my God, there's Nazis, I better get a gun and do something about it. So they understand
they're not calling for their
not
arrest,
calling for violence, but calling them words starts that dehumanization that leads to violence. So thank you for proving my point.
This is sick. This is actually sick what you're saying, dude. What you're saying is that you're calling for people to be arrested for words that make you upset. That's sick. This is the country of John Locke. Hang on. This is the country of John Locke. This is the country that was supposed to, we adopted our constitution based on these principles of free speech. And, you sick bastards are running around actually calling for the arrest of people because they say mean words. What the hell is wrong with you?
This is the thing with free speech. You can still make your point.
You can say what you want, but there's consequences to it. Oh, never heard that argument before. What should the consequences be? Okay?
Why are you gay?
First of all, let's get that straight.
Why are you gay?
Okay. And then what should the consequences be? That everybody gets arrested?
You can still make your point. What is it that you can't say? It's not my fault that people can't articulate themselves well. You can talk about crime statistics based on gender and sexuality and race, whatever you want.
Why
you just can't use discriminatory words to do it.
Why should a young care worker who's angry because she's been assaulted and is in hospital and is firing off her angry thoughts while she said she had a head injury and she uses this F word, and because of that, she ends up with a conviction?
Well, hold on, Piers. We only got her side of the story. Reading the articles, it says that there was a series of abusive and homophobic messages. Yeah. Those were then showed. The friend said
they weren't homophobic.
The friend that she said
they weren't homophobic.
Hold on, that's what the prosecutor said.
They weren't aimed at somebody for their sexuality.
But so what if
So
I
much
go
for
up to
believing
someone in
all
the
women
street?
here.
So if I go up to
So much
someone
for
in the
believing all
street and
women.
start
Can I jump
attacking
in?
them,
Well, okay. By comparison, if I use the N word against
I
you,
still haven't had a chance to respond to any of
right,
this.
or if I use the N word against Andrew, is that a racist slur against him? No.
no. So if I go up in the
I
street
disagree.
and start,
There has to be some intent.
no,
surely.
if I start going up to someone in the street and screaming
disagree.
anti-Semitic things at them,
Yeah.
and then it turns out they're not Jewish, the
Yeah.
police aren't going to be like, oh well, like you went to attack someone
Yes, but
based
hang on,
on the.
but hang on, but that's my point though. If you can't be anti-Semitic against somebody who's not Jewish.
But we go back to
But it
I think
doesn't
it's
make-
worse because the
but
gay slur
Piers-
was made to make him seem.
What the hell? What a just a chaotic worldview that this Bert from Sesame Street looking individual has. So you can walk up to somebody and if they're not Jewish, start screaming anti-Semitic things at them. Okay. So then if somebody comes at me and starts saying all sorts of racial slurs, about like black racial slurs at me or Mexican racial slurs, or if somebody starts making homophobic remarks at me, can I, adopt that group? And is it still, I mean, these are the people who want to isolate themselves into groups. Oh, we're this group, we're this group, we're this oppressed class, we're this oppressed class. But now it can apply to all of us? Okay.